All right, let's dive into one of history's greatest thrillers. We're talking about a story of courage, a massive conspiracy, and destiny, all playing out in the heart of the ancient Persian Empire. It's part political drama, part royal soap opera, and it all hinges on one woman's incredible choice. So, this is the big question, right? We're about to follow the journey of a young woman who goes from being a nobody, an orphan, to sitting on the throne of the most powerful empire on earth. But that's just the beginning. The real story starts when she's faced with a decision that could cost her absolutely everything. Okay, so picture this. We're in the capital city, Shushan, and it's the third year of King Ahasuerus' reign. And this isn't just any king. We're talking about a ruler whose empire is massive. It stretches all the way from India to Ethiopia, covering 127 different provinces. He's the most powerful man in the world. And when you're that powerful, how do you show it off? You throw a party. But not just any party. The king throws an insane 180-day festival for all his officials and nobles. That's 6 straight months of feasting, all to show off the riches of his glorious kingdom. The scene is just pure opulence. Gold and silver everywhere, marble pillars, and wine flowing like water. So we get to the very end of this whole affair during a final 7-day feast. The king, who's been drinking heavily, gets an idea. He demands that his queen, Vashti, come out and show off her beauty for all his drunk friends. And in a moment that just stops everyone in their tracks, Queen Vashti says, no. The party comes to a dead stop. Now, this is where things get really interesting. The king's advisors, they totally freak out. They don't just see this as the king being embarrassed. Oh no, they see it as a threat to the entire social fabric of the empire. Their argument is, if the queen gets away with defying the king, then wives all over the kingdom will start defying their husbands. So, they convince the king to depose her and make it an irreversible law that she can never see him again. And boom! Just like that, the most powerful queen in the world is out, and there's a royal vacancy. So the search begins for a new queen. A search that's going to span the entire empire, looking for the most beautiful young women. And this, of course, is what sets the stage for a very unlikely candidate to walk through the palace doors. And this selection process, wow, it's not your typical beauty pageant. We're talking about a full-on year-long ordeal. All the candidates were brought to the palace and put through 12 months of intense beauty treatments. That's 6 months with oil of myrrh, then another 6 months with special perfumes, all before you get to spend one single night with the king. After that, he'd pick his favorite. And somewhere in this huge crowd of candidates, we meet our hero. Her name is Hadassah, but she's known as Esther. She's a beautiful Jewish orphan who was raised by her cousin Mordecai. And as she enters this high-stakes competition, she has one very important instruction from him. Don't tell anyone who you really are. Her Jewish identity must remain a complete secret. So Esther wins the king's heart and is crowned the new queen. And for a while, everything seems fine. But that's not how these stories work, right? A dark cloud is gathering because a new, sinister figure is about to rise to power. A man whose pride and hatred will threaten to wipe out an entire people. The king promotes this guy, Haman, making him his right-hand man, the most powerful official in the land. And the king orders everyone to bow down to Haman. But Mordecai, who works as a gatekeeper for the king, refuses. As a Jew, he believes in bowing only to God. And this one act of defiance sends Haman into an absolute fury. Haman is so consumed with rage, it's not enough to just punish Mordecai. No, he finds out Mordecai is a Jew, and he decides he's going to destroy all of them. So he goes to the king, spins a lie about the Jewish people being disloyal, and offers to pay a bribe of 10,000 talents of silver, a truly mind-boggling amount of money, for the authority to wipe them out. And the king? Maybe he's bored. Maybe he's tempted by the money. Who knows? He just agrees. It's that simple, that terrifying. He gives Haman his own signet ring to seal the deal. A decree is written and sent to every corner of the empire. It's now the law of the land, irreversible. On a specific day, the 13th of Adar, every Jewish person, man, woman, and child, is to be killed. So now the clock is ticking. A death warrant is out for every Jewish person in the empire. And Queen Esther, she's safe, for now. Tucked away in the palace, her secret's still safe. But that's all about to change. She's about to find out there's no hiding from destiny, and she has a choice to make. A choice between life and death. And this, right here, is the moment everything pivots. Mordecai gets a message to Esther telling her everything and begging her to go to the king. She's terrified and reminds him that anyone who approaches the king uninvited is put to death. But Mordecai sends back this powerful, chilling message. He says, "Don't think for a second you'll be safe just because you're in the palace." And then he asks the question that changes everything. Who knows? Maybe you were made queen for such a time as this. And Esther's reply? It's just breathtaking. She makes her choice. She tells Mordecai to have all the Jews in the city fast and pray with her for 3 days. After that, she's going to do the unthinkable. She will go to the king, breaking the law, and she knows the stakes, ending with, "And if I perish, I perish." But here's the thing. Esther is not just brave. She is incredibly smart. She doesn't just run into the throne room. Instead, she comes up with this brilliant, patient plan. It's a strategic gambit that will unfold over 2 days and lead to one of the most shocking reversals of fortune you've ever heard. Okay, so watch how fast the tables turn. It all happens in just 48 hours. Day 1. Esther invites the king and Haman to a private banquet. That same night, the king can't sleep, so he has the royal records read to him, and what does he hear? That Mordecai once saved his life from assassins but was never rewarded. The next morning, Haman shows up, ready to ask permission to hang Mordecai on the gallows he just built. Instead, the king asks him for advice on how to honor a man he really wants to celebrate. Haman, thinking it's him, suggests a huge public parade. The king's response? Great, go do all of that for Mordecai. Then, that night, at a second banquet, Esther finally reveals she's Jewish and exposes Haman's plot. The king is enraged and has Haman executed on the very gallows he built for Mordecai. So the bad guy is gone. Problem solved, right? Not so fast. Remember that first decree, the one calling for the destruction of the Jews? It was sealed with the king's ring, and under Persian law, it's irreversible. It cannot be canceled. The execution date is still on the calendar. I mean, just look at this reversal. It is absolute and complete. The king gives Haman's entire estate to Queen Esther. He then takes that powerful signet ring from his finger, the one he gave Haman, and gives it to Mordecai, promoting him to Haman's old job. The people who were condemned to die are now in power. So, you can't erase the old law, but what can you do? You write a new one. The king lets Esther and Mordecai write a counter-decree. This new law, also sealed with the king's ring and sent across the empire, gives the Jewish people the right to gather and to defend their lives against anyone who might try to harm them on that day. And when that fateful day arrives, instead of being victims, the Jewish people are victorious. To celebrate this incredible deliverance, Mordecai and Esther establish an annual festival called Purim. It's named after the pur. That's the word for the lots that Haman cast to pick their execution day. And it turns a day that was supposed to be about sorrow into a time of joy and celebration that continues to this very day. The story of Esther, of this ordinary person put in this extraordinary position, really leaves us with a question that just echoes through the ages. It's about courage, sure, but it's also about strategy and about finding your voice when you feel powerless. It forces all of us to ask ourselves, when your moment comes, such a time as this, what will you do?